Before we begin, this story involves birth defects caused by a pharmaceutical drug. It describes children born with missing or shortened limbs. The focus is on systemic failure and the people who fought it, but the physical reality is part of the story. If that's something you need to step away from, we understand. Take care of yourself first. Woman at the FDA stares at a drug application on her desk. It's her second month on the job. The company that submitted it has called her more than 50 times. Her supervisors haven't told her to approve it. They haven't told her not to. Across the ocean, in maternity wards from Hamburg to Sydney, babies are being born without arms. She doesn't know that yet. She just knows the safety data doesn't add up, and she won't sign her name until it does. You're listening to the Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Today, a pill sold in 46 countries as completely safe for pregnant women, and the one person who kept it out of America. Stolberg, West Germany, 1957. A pharmaceutical company called Chemie Grünenthal launches a new sedative under the brand name Contergan. Small white pills, cheerful packaging, available over the counter. No prescription needed. The marketing promises relief from anxiety, insomnia, and morning sickness. The word non-toxic appears in the advertising. The drug has never been tested on pregnant women. Contergan sells fast. By 1958, it's one of the most popular sedatives in West Germany. Grünenthal licenses it to companies across Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia. 46 countries in total, different brand names in different markets, Distaval in the UK, Softenon in Belgium, Kevadon in Canada. The active ingredient is always the same, thalidomide. Doctors recommend it to pregnant women specifically. Morning sickness is one of its primary marketed uses. Women take it in their first trimester, the exact window when a fetus is forming its limbs, its eyes, its ears, its brain. Nobody checks what that means. Not Grünenthal. Not the licensing companies, not the regulatory agencies in 46 countries that wave it through. The company that created the drug was founded by Hermann Wirtz Sr., a member of the Nazi Party who'd built the firm after the war. Grünenthal's early staff included former Nazi scientists. None of this slowed the approvals. In 1957, drug regulation looked nothing like it does today. In most countries, a company could bring a drug to market with minimal testing. The assumption was simple. If it didn't kill adults in trials, it was safe. Nobody was asking what it did to a fetus at 24 days. Micro cliffhanger 1. But by 1959, maternity wards across Europe were seeing something they couldn't explain. Babies began arriving with a condition called phocomelia, shortened or completely absent limbs, hands growing directly from shoulders, feet attached to hips. Some had no arms at all, others had no legs. The severity wasn't random, it followed a calendar. If a mother took thalidomide on day 20 of her pregnancy, the damage hit the brain. Day 21, the eyes. Day 22, the ears. Day 24, the arms. Day 28, the legs. After day 42, no effect at all. A window of 22 days determined whether a child was born whole or not. The numbers climbed. Across West Germany, the UK, Australia, Japan, Brazil, thousands of babies. Estimates would eventually reach 10,000 affected children. Roughly 40% of them died at or shortly after birth. The rest faced a lifetime of surgeries, prosthetics, and adaptation. At the Roehampton Limb Fitting Centre in London, technicians built tiny artificial arms for toddlers. Nobody connected the cases at first. Phoco-me-li-ah was vanishingly rare before thalidomide. So rare that most obstetricians had never seen a single case. Now it was appearing in clusters, in cities where the drug was most popular, and nobody was asking why. In Australia, a midwife named Sister Pat Sparrow was one of the first to notice the pattern. She mentioned it to an obstetrician named William McBride. On the other side of the world, a German pediatrician named Vid Kind Lentz was tracking the same spike. Neither knew the other existed. Micro cliffhanger 2. They would both reach the same conclusion within weeks of each other. But by then, the drug had been on the market for 4 years. In November 1961, Lentz and McBride independently proved the link. Thalidomide caused the birth defects. The evidence was overwhelming. The geographic clusters matched the drug's distribution pattern exactly. Grünenthal pulled Contergan from the German market in December. Other countries followed. But pulling a drug off shelves doesn't undo what it's already done. And in the middle of all of it, one country was almost entirely untouched. In September 1960, a year before the link was proven, a new FDA reviewer in Washington, D.C. received an application from a company called Richardson Mayr-Ule. They wanted to sell thalidomide in the United States under the brand name Kevadon. The reviewer's name was Frances Oldham Kelsey. She'd been on the job for barely a month. Kelsey read the application and found the safety data thin. She asked for more. Richardson Mayr-Ule pushed back. She asked again. They called her. They visited her office. They complained to her superiors. Over the next 14 months, the company contacted her more than 50 times. She kept saying no. She wasn't trying to be a hero. She'd noticed reports from Europe about peripheral neuritis, nerve damage, in patients taking the drug long-term. If it could damage adult nerves, she wanted to know what it did to developing ones. Nobody had answered that question. So she held the line. Frances Kelsey's stubbornness kept thalidomide out of the American market. When the birth defect link broke in late 1961, the United States was spared. Not because the system worked, but because one person refused to stop asking questions. In 1962, President Kennedy awarded her the President's Award for Distinguished Federal Civilian Service. She was only the second woman to receive it. The thalidomide disaster led directly to the 1962 Kefauver-Harris Amendment, which for the first time required drug manufacturers to prove their products were safe and effective before selling them. The rules we take for granted today exist because 10,000 children were born without them. But the story doesn't end in 1962. 86,202,165 thalidomide is still manufactured today. It's prescribed for leprosy and certain cancers, conditions where its mechanism of action, the same one that destroyed fetal limbs, turns out to be medically useful. In Brazil, the drug was prescribed to patients who didn't know they were pregnant. A new generation of thalidomide babies has been born. The wonder drug is still creating victims. The thalidomide disaster is usually told as a cautionary tale. A thing that happened once, was fixed, and couldn't happen again. But the drug is still in use. The pressure to approve fast and ask questions later hasn't gone away. And the distance between a safe world and a catastrophic one was exactly one person at a desk who wouldn't sign a form. Frances Kelsey didn't have special authority. She didn't have political backing. She had a question that hadn't been answered, and the stubbornness not to pretend it had. That's it. That's what stood between the United States and 10,000 children born without arms. The system didn't save anyone. She did, and if she hadn't been assigned that particular application on that particular day, nobody else was saying no. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. Follow the Unlit Room wherever you listen. Tell a friend, but maybe don't tell them it's all real until after they've finished. Full story on the main channel. Follow if you're wide awake. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.